What's up, YouTube? Hello to everybody. I'm kind of doing like a segment from the last video I did in terms of, women and money, men and men versus women money. Um, the last conversation, let me mute this, hold on. The last conversation we had was about this topic on money. Um, Women value money when it comes to relationships, while men value the woman when it comes to the relationship. Well, today's is on the same wavelength, but a little bit different. Um, my question is now: is money is more important in the relationship versus valuing the man versus valuing the money? Should should women care about the money more in the relationship, or she should care about the man she want to be with in the relationship? Because the man makes the money, the woman have to make the money. And we kind of, well, where we're going to go with this conversation is basically talking about how money is actually the soul of people today. Like the human nature itself or the person of the human doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. Money is everything to everybody now. Materialism is worth more than the person who actually find the material, create the material, shape the material, produce the material, and the product to use to buy the material is more value than the actual person who make it or create it and distribute it. It's kind of weird. Human to me, I know a lot of people gonna disagree, but to me, human nature is savagery. Yeah, we're going backwards. We're going backwards. Yeah, we're going backwards. We're not moving forward. The things that we value in this world is the things that we use to survive, which means if you're going to use something to survive, it doesn't have more value than you because you're the one got to use it to keep it going. So you got to be used for you. You got to be manipulated by you. You know what I mean? I don't know if anybody gonna relate to what I'm saying, but let me go a different direction. In the context of being a human being, right? A man and a woman, no money involved. Uh, Hold on, let me check my light. I think I'm a little too dark. A lot better, a lot better. Okay. All right. So what I was saying is this. The test is this: man and a woman. Present day. Present. We're talking present day. I'm just giving a hypothetical, right? Man or woman. Man seeking out woman. For the context of him seeking out the woman, of course, it's for like you know the nature of the attraction, right, for the man. But not just the attraction. He also looking for a companion, as well as an offspring, as well as there's another side to just having a mate where it expands the happiness, the how you should say the function of the human being just wanting to live and be healthy. It's like it produces a certain type of chemical, right? That helps your body just want to be stronger and be more braver and even stay younger, even heal itself for certain situations. When you're pursuing a female, most men, and I'm talking about like look not just for like flings and stuff. I'm talking about like a relationship perspective, right? The male is, of course, attraction come first, but then there's a feeling that comes with it, right? Now, in his mind, he's not saying, "I'm just gonna get this girl just because." That is also for children. Is also her companionship, her smile, her laughter, her touch, her smell. We're thinking about all types of different things that entices him to like find that woman to be a personal long-term companion. And like I said, men are polygamous, so I'm not limiting it to, hey, what's up, yeah, queen? Hello, yeah, queen, what's up? Right. So when he's pursuing that female, those are the things he's looking for. Now it starts off with features, of course, but presently in these times, men have became a little shallow about that a lot. We can follow the history. This is why history matters. We can follow the history where men have become so shallow about beauty. Even though it was always a thing. I'm not saying that, but it becomes so shallow now where it's like you have to be a certain way, you have to look a certain way, or we highlight female just by beauty to a certain standard. And then youthism is still, a woman younger is still the top tier, of course, but the beauty level of it was not the main factor. I would say more for the legal age level, I would say, versus just the way she looked. Because every woman have a specific type of beauty, even though there's the society standard or whatever, but even within the society standard, there's a specific beauty in every woman that every man will find her to look pretty or whatever the case is. Now, but like I said, we know there's a standard, which means basically what I'm saying is that every woman can get picked or multiple. A man might pick multiple women. Men don't just look at looks when it comes to a female. Sometimes on other levels of it, it's also how she carry herself, how she speak, how she share her support, how she show her kindness. You know what I'm saying? It's all about those things. And whether it's monogamous or polygamy, he can add her to that situation, for that situation. Now, once a man decide to, he find a female, he pick her for whatever reason, one or two, it doesn't matter. He's also thinking about her future. Like, if I was the wife of this lady, I would have to, protect her. I don't have to protect her. I have to make sure I have a house or land. Those are the two main things that men think of first when it comes to pursuing a female. Now, it's not every man will be able to produce land, but they might have to rent or, inherit family members or whatever the case is. But generally, that's what the men think about. Think about, can I carry this woman, or can I lead this woman in the future. Because he gonna have kids. He got to think about the kids as well. She gonna have to stay home, or maybe she want to work. That's fine, but most cases she gonna have to stay home at some point, and he gonna have to manage and deal with everything. Now, with that said, he's not thinking about you know. Well, he also think about how supporting and probably helping out in some cases. The men today, when they talk about women in terms of a housewife perspective, that's not a normal situation. A woman is not just meant to cook and clean and take care of children. I mean, what if she don't have any children? What if she don't have that much children? What if she only have two, three? What if her children are what happens when her children are grown? What happens when her children are gone? What happens when her children, you know, what if there's more than one woman in the house? The children are slowly depending on her. You know what I'm saying? But even though in that context, he still values her. He still see her as something or someone that he have to protect and take and nurture and love. Now, if you notice, I'm not putting. 'Cause protection comes with you know paying the bills and stuff like that. It comes with it, so I'm not even adding that in there. Women always play a role when it comes to income or providing. So I'm not gonna say, men probably take the leading role in it, of course, but women play a part in it because ain't every woman want to just stay at home and do basically just take care of kids. Because the most toughest part of dealing with kids is the youngest age. I would say from birth to about 3 years old. By the time it's done 4 and 5, they should be able to by three, by the time it comes three, they should be able to follow directions and start helping doing things around the house to their capacity, of course. But as they get older after 5, because school age, probably starts around 5. So um let's say in the modern day, kids put their kids in daycare or middle what they call it, baby school or whatever the case is. Because some women want to work, some women have to work. It is what it is. But I'm comparing it to what woman was to what woman is, right? And what man was to what man is. Because the men have changed too. Men have changed for the worse, the women have changed for the worse. The problem is we push this narrative. Men ain't changed that much, but we have changed to the point where we kind of belittle women to a degree in terms of just solely being a housewife or whatever the case is. And women have took that and run with it. But then they also utilize their body as a commodity for a man to pursue her. Meaning that she don't generally solely go in the relationship with a passion and a desire to be part of that man's life with that man for who he is. The money play a big role. Or to me, it almost look like the money is like the top tier role versus the man himself. So basically, what I'm saying is, men view women for personal factor in terms of like a lifespan expectation type situation, right? Which means he got to be with him for the rest of his life. He got to be there for the rest of his life. Versus the woman is looking at more of a conditional situation where it's like, if he don't have this much of money, then hey, it is what it is. I can't be with him anymore. He's not good. He's not a man enough. But that's not what makes a man. Men are human beings. Now, if there's some things that play a part where he's not, participating to try or, you know, some men might can't. But let's just say he's just not doing anything. He gamble, he's a drunk or whatever. I can understand that. I can understand that point of, disappointment. But if he's doing his best and he's trying to do what he got to do, the woman should stand by him. you know, I ain't even went into the way how women view the world yet. Because, like I said, men still look at women the same way, even though it's slowly changing to the point where almost to a point where we don't care anymore. But we still want a woman with loyalty and respect, right? And care and love and support versus, the way how women view men these days. So let me flip a little, I'm gonna flip a little bit and talk about the woman's side for a second. On the woman's side, you know, historically, the woman's side, it was like a dream for a woman to be with a man. It was like her sole being of living, right? And it's the same thing for the men. They grew up with the sole intention, like, oh, I need to find a wife and have kids and this, that, and the third. For a woman, that was her dream, because she did less. I mean, at the time, you said women was somewhat important, but less important because the importance for a woman back in the day was mainly about, um, how would you say, a trade-off. Let me use that word. It was more for like as a trade-off, meaning that she either could be an asset for growth or some kind of like transactional, in terms of like wealth and stuff like that. Now, when it comes to the love conception of it or the relationship conception of it, that was also a big role. But back in the day, you know, it was a lot more strict for a woman to not just be in her own behavior. So as time progressed, women did inherit some land depending on, if they only had boys or maybe the boys died and the woman had to inherit the land and the assets and everything, which means the man that she formally with gonna now have to be the carrier for those things. He gonna be the caretaker for those assets and things that are left behind. That's what it used to be. But like I said, the dream for a woman back in the day was to be with somebody because the nature of it, no one want to be left alone, right? It was dangerous for a woman to be by herself back in the day. Now, this is 2020. 2026, we're in the modern age now. It's still the somewhat necessary for a woman to not be left alone, but the world have been built to a convenience for women to be on their own in some degree, which means they could also provide for themselves, right? They can even make enough, they can even survive enough where they can take care of the kids on their own, which is a fine deal. It's not a bad thing. But the nature of it is that women still need the man to survive because he still have to maintain the society that she lives in or the convenience that she lives in is still produced by a man, by men. The flip side to that is women tend to do, for some reason, I'm not saying all of them. No, we're talking about generally, but we're not saying all, of course, right? So most of the women, I would say, they don't see the value of men or they're undermining the value of men based on how much they're functioning in this world and how they need men to be functioning in this world. Women don't see men based on how should you say not an emotional. They don't seem to have emotional connection towards men. It's more of like it's more like an how should you say uh, a product or a tool. That's the better word to use. A tool to their survival and comfort. Because women generally more look at the things that they want versus what the man want or versus what sustain the man to keep going for her to keep going. Because the backward understanding is that women don't understand like based on men being being doing what they're doing to sustain their life. is to keep them living and keep them having the things that they have in the convenience of their comfort. But you got to be able to, support and love and protect the thing that provide those things for you. And I'm talking about in a big scale, not by a small number. You know what I mean? So it's almost like men look for women in a passionate way, emotionally, without any type of materialism outside of the human attraction, like the human desire, versus the woman desire for towards a man is more like what his assets is and what he provides. Now, when a woman, let's say naturally a woman was to look for a guy in the most simplest way, take the money out of the picture, right? She would want to know, she probably look at him, and look in his eyes, look at his face, look at his body structure, his how healthy he is, all of that good stuff. Then she will look at how how he talks to her, how he treats her, how he treats his friends, his family. You know what I'm saying? How he care about her, how he compliments her, and it's gonna be consistent, right? And the consistency, I would say, is what strikes her to decide that this man is perfect for her, right? Or he's the one for her, right? What I don't agree is that women should have multiple options, because when a woman have multiple options, she get more confused and she don't know what to go for. Because sometimes the option is a guy could look right for you because he's a little bit more fun, a little bit more this, but he might have a negative side for that, or he might have certain type of, how it is. There's one thing not going to be right versus the other, but he's not ultimately the guy for her. And she'll pass up the guy for her that might be perfect for her just because he missing one item, or he don't look a specific way, or he don't do specific things, which is not the way it's supposed to be. The woman's supposed to love the guy that love her, or see her to be the highest. When I say highest, I don't mean like a not worshiper, but more in a way where she's one with him. He see himself with her for the rest of his life. And that's, generally that's what a woman should look for. It's the most basic things that a human being can do. It's the guy showing you passion, love, but she has to analyze that for a time, you know? Now, me personally, I would say it's okay to talk to a guy for a year, couple of months, like befriend them, as they said. I think that the term is to befriend them. It's okay to be friends with the female that you're trying to seek out. Talk to her, get to know her, go to her house, meet her. You should know her friends and family before you decide you want to be with her. That's the old school way. The old school way back in the day, you the mom and the dad, the family member was meet each other prior to the daughters and the boyfriend getting together. You know, they would be that's how it used to be. And then the to the male and the female, we get to know each other on some, you know, friendship, how should say, acquaintance type interests. And they get to bond, get to see each other, they get to hang out, they get to see each other, how they deal with their friends, families. They go out, they hang out. It wasn't no dating specifically kind of a way, but it was more of like we just do things together. We just spend time with each other. Come. I mean, of course, she likes him because he's gonna tell her, but they're gonna hang out together. They're gonna spend time together. They're gonna do a lot of things together consistently. And then as time progresses, and they finally, reach to the point where they say, you know what, I think we should be together, or I think, it's time for us to be together, or whatever. The parents, the friends, he already know her life to a degree. He already know her whole life to a degree. Not a whole life, but he already know her from outside and inside. Meaning that outside is like her family. Inside is her personality. So he's knowing her personally, just being around her for the last 6 months to a year, and she's hanging out with him, and he's getting to see her friends and family. Not every day, but he's hanging around them. And to me, when you do relationships like that, it works out more. You know what I'm saying? because you get to understand the person from the ground up. Now, the way how we do things today is the dating process. You meet somebody, you like them, they give you a number, you call them, you go on you go out for an acquaintance, you know, uh, check up or catch up if you want to do that, and then the courting, you know, so the first hangout y'all had was pretty cool. After that, y'all get to know each other a lot more. But I would say, because the thing is, why would you want to introduce somebody to your friends or family if you know you're not going to be? Which is true. That's true. But women are jump into relationships on their own a lot without, and then their choices is very shallow, like I said. So it should be some kind of a family or friend involved, mostly males, to analyze the situation. As well, she should also see how he operates with his friends before she decides she want to lock it down, and before he decides he want to lock it down. So they should be able to bring friends around or family members around, so he can see how they associate, right? And then say maybe 3 months later, because you know, no S, they could see how things work out. And if you work out for the past 2 3 months and they're hanging out and they're doing their thing because she only dates him, she only looking out for her, they should be fine. Now, I'm not eliminating polygamy because you got like I said, I already, you know, I do support polygamy. It's part of a man's nature. I think every woman should understand that that's just something that men do. If he chooses to be monogamous, then that's fine. But it's not her decision to make that decision. It's his decision. Just because women have the decision to choose to sleep with who they want to sleep with, men should have the decision to formulate how he want his relationships to go. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it's just the way it is, right? But I think women should befriend their dude a little bit more. And I'm not saying you can't, do your little teasers and all these different things, let the person know you're interested in them, but get to know them a little bit more before you decide to say, like, I'm just gonna. But that's if she's a good girl, because ain't every girl think like that, and it's not every girl is a good girl. Well, I'm only talking about the ones who's really serious and want to be loyal in a long-term relationship. If you want a long-term relationship, for you to find a good dude, you got to be patient and you got to give him time. But at the same time, you got to be able to keep the interest between you and the dude. You can't just put everything on him to do everything. Like, for example, if you want to, let's say she want to go out, she want to go to the store or something. It's okay for her to call him up and say, "Hey, what you doing?" Nothing, just chilling. Oh, I'm about to go to the mall and hang out with a couple of my friends. You want to come? Okay. He's gonna say yes. It doesn't have to be some, as they call it, a date. Date is actually for people who are already in relationships. Courting, it's a little bit different when it comes to dating. Courting is more when, you're just meeting somebody, you're hanging out with them, you're getting to know them, you're spending time with them. You spend time with their friends. You associate with. So you go to a movie. Say you go to a movie with your friends, and you're like, you know what? Okay, my girl and her friends went to the movies. You want to come with me? You don't have to be with the person just to go to the movies. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to call it a date, because initially dating is for couples. That's where the word date came from. It used to be something called a date night, right? Where the kids would be, they got to be without the oldest kid in the house, specifically a teenager, or, you know, um, maybe a nanny or something, or a family member, and as an adult. We watch the kids for about 2, 3 hours, maybe 4 hours tops, no more than four, I'm assuming. And mom and dad would go for a date night. They go out for the night, spend some time out. And that's, to keep the, relationship entertained between the mother and the father. That's where the term date come from, dating. Date night actually started out as a date night. And once or twice a week, they'll go out and have a date night. And now we turn the word dating or date night into dating or to courting when it's not the same thing. After a date night with your wife, you know what time it is. It's things got spicy. You're coming home, you're getting frisky. When you go on dates, you know, it's not the same concept, because the man don't have to feel like, he's giving out too much of his resources and he's not getting no return. Because you see what women do, they take advantage of that. So dating is not, to me. I'm just saying for me personally, and I think a lot of people would agree with me. To be honest, it's not the way it's supposed to be. Women should show that if the woman find a guy interested after the first date, and because I'm using your term date, but I'm only go with court. So I would say she should be, if she showed the interest, she should ask him out the second time. And it doesn't have to be a payment situation. It could just be like, oh, we're going to the beach. You want to come? You know what I mean? It's just a hangout thing. It's just to get to know each other. It's just in a normal setting. Because what a lot of us do today, the relationship seeking or pursuing these days is all like 1 or 2 dates, 3 dates maybe, and then sex. That's not enough. Yeah, you talk on the phone, but y'all ain't spending enough time around each other to know if like I can tolerate this person just being around them on a consistent basis. You know, you're going on dates for certain events where money is involved, or sometimes you just gotta meet them at a friend's house, or like I said, you're just going out. You meet them places. See, you might even be to a point once you get a little comfortable, the person could come and pick you up from work or take you, if they want to. Where he's like, we're going the same place, or I'm going the same direction, and y'all could talk while cause that's being kind, that's being nice. He might send you a little flowers here and there. He might pop up, send you flowers at your job or whatever. Those are things that men used to do before this era. Because in this era, these things that don't happen anymore. You know, it's all about 1 to 3 dates, maybe five tops, and then boom, we're together. That's not how it works. And then once you with the person, you don't like the person because you never really know them anyway. But guess what? It's a little too late. Your body already done, used up by this person. For how many times y'all done past, did what you guys had to do. So, with that said, I'm just saying that women need to be a little bit more cautious to how they move in the date game or the pursuing game or being pursued. They have to be a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more fair, a little bit more patient, and be more genuine about relationship. It's not just about what the man have or what he provides. It's the feeling of just like you got the person you want to be with. Somebody care about you. Somebody loves you. Somebody want to die for you. Because women can't compare to that. A man giving his life, you cannot compare to that. In most cases, okay, for example, when a man go to work, it's the same concept of him dying for you because he putting his life on the line to work his butt off just so you can have a good life. If y'all focus on that type of mentality, just because the man don't want you to work too hard or maybe don't work at all, you gotta appreciate that he's doing it for you. So money is not the issue in the man's world, right? Even though he needed to keep the food on the table or the bills paid, but it's not the main issue for him. What's important to him is that you're there with him and you're giving him the love and you're showing the love that he wants. That's what he's looking for. But I ain't gonna go too long about this. Um, if you guys have any questions, just shoot me some questions. I could respond to the questions. Uh, give me a like, subscribe. If you guys kind of want to challenge anything I say, you could also leave a comment, so I can respond to it as well. I hope you guys can hear me. I don't know if my thing is too low or not, but I guess I'll find out later. But yeah, so that's what it is about that, man. That's what I think about when it comes to relationship. I think that women became too shallow. Men is also shallow. We don't really pay attention to women anymore like that. And women just don't seem meant to be a long-term goal anymore. We look at relationship only for what we benefit and use them each other for. We don't see the value in the person, the human nature, the human being. We don't have the passion to be with somebody because of a human being. You know what I'm saying? We're with the person because what I can get from them. So it's really questionable. Like any of these relationships genuine. You know what I'm saying? It makes you wonder, and that's why men carry the term now. She not your girl; it's just your turn. Because they almost seem like the woman don't care about you. She only with you just to use you until you can't be used no more, or whenever she ready to just see something better. But with that said, I'm gonna end the live here right now. Like I said, if anybody want to question what I've been saying, hit me up, shoot me a text, you know, subscribe as well. I appreciate if you give me a like as well. And peace.